Welcome to the latest episode of Branding the Experience. We discuss ways how we can create environments where employees actually want to come to work and customers want to keep coming back. I am Ken Bader, your host for Branding the Experience, and I have the perfect guest for our show today. Her name is Christie Lawler, and let me tell you a bit about her. She's the founder of CGL Consulting and the Witty Group. WITI. We'll talk a little bit about that. As founder and owner of CGL Consulting, Christie supports her clients by creating beverage marketing and training programs for national hotel, restaurant, and entertainment companies, which is a little bit of a challenge these days. We'll talk about that. She has been working in the food and beverage industry since she was a teenager and has created training and beverage marketing programs for some of the largest companies in hospitality, including Alamo Drafthouse, Arcus Golf, Darden, HMS Host, and Outback Steakhouse. Now I want a steak. Christie, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, we're gonna have some fun. We're gonna have some fun in what may be some rough times here as we're recording this. It's mid-April. But hopefully when this goes live, we're going to be getting back to a little bit of a new normal and be able to get some of our hospitality, small business owners and big business owners rolling again. But the first question I have for you actually is, it says that you've been doing this since you were a teenager. So you've only been doing this for 5-6 years?
Yeah, actually only two, really.
Awesome.
I can drink. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I see all that alcohol on your backdrop over there. You can't even have a drop. Wow.
Yeah, no, I started when I was a teenager, like many high schoolers do. That first job in high school, it was really, really, really glamorous. Yeah.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, my first job was working at a grocery store, bagging groceries and tying bales. For anybody that is in the grocery industry or ever worked in grocery, you'll know that tying bales is not fun, especially in the produce section. But I won't even get into that. But we're going to talk about branding and marketing. Yeah, give us some of your experience as, a couple of the, back in the normal days, we'll say, some of the best branding marketing tips that you've seen for hospitality companies.
Well, honestly, it's all changed so quickly. The companies that do it well are actually, they're creating a guest experience based on how they treat their people. And before all of this went down, I was actually scheduled to speak at the annual nightclub and bar show about how to engage your staff at every level, how to involve them in the entire process, turning them into brand ambassadors for the company so that your customers have a better experience, because it all starts with culture. So when it comes down to it, anybody that stays true to their brand, who they are, who their core identity is, and how they treat their people, they usually rise to the top.
Yeah, no, I love that comment. I've been saying that for years, whether it's a restaurant, hotel, bank, funeral home, brothel, whatever the heck it is that you're running out there. If
I'm
you
not running any brothels.
I know you're not, but if anybody in Nevada is watching this, it applies to you too. But yeah, if you've got happy employees, you almost always have happy customers. And I think, in the restaurant industry especially, we've kind of lost a little bit of sight of that. I think that at least there was, maybe this will be changing, but there was these people aren't career minded folks. They just want a job to move to something else. And you'd have the same feeling on the other side. It's like, the manager doesn't care. He's just worried about the bottom line, or she's just worried about, making the rent as an owner. She doesn't care about my needs. But I've seen, when you could bridge that gap to really involving, and this is branding the experience and not Cool Culture Corner. We may get you on Cool Culture Corner too, because I love what you're saying about culture. that if you get people involved, from your bartenders, your wait staff, your
Mhm.
front of the house, back of the house, whatever you want to call it, you then things tend to root to move smoother. Things, there's not all this animosity out there.
No, creating stakeholders out of the entire staff. And it doesn't matter the level or how long they've been there. Ideas come from everywhere, and you have to be open to listen to them.
Yeah.
That's the key. It's that simple.
Yeah, and I love what you're saying about brand ambassadors, because if you're truly engaging and involving your staff, where I mean, the whole thing here is not just customers wanting to come back, but employees wanting to come to work. If they're proud of where they work, they're gonna tell other people. They're gonna post it on social media. Two quick points, and I want your take on it. Yeah, a number of years ago, I met a bartender from Red Robin, the burger place, and frankly, it's one of my favorite burger places. She talked about how proud she was to work at Red Robin, and how she's treated well, and it's a great place to work. And I thought, that's awesome. That makes me want to go to Red Robin even more. And even for my financial people at credit unions and banks, they want to complain about, oh well, all they're doing is on social media on their phone. Well, rather than simply being upset about it, why don't you embrace it and say, hey, if you're going to be on Facebook, tell them about the special meal that we're going to be having tonight. Tell them about the great loan promotion that we've got. If you're going to be on there, let's let's give a little credit to our place. So
Yeah,
if you involve them, then they do become brand ambassadors, right, Christy?
absolutely. It's very true. Because how often do we hear people say, "Ah, God, I hate my job"? I just feel bad for my friends that say that. When
Yeah.
that sentence comes out of your mouth, it's got to be pretty bad to like go out there and admit it. And I've never said that. I've been very lucky in my career, but I've also made strategic choices not to do something I don't want to do. And when something goes sideways and I no longer love it, I just bail.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
out. That's why I'm working for myself now.
Yes, good for you. I think every entrepreneur has kind of had that journey, whether they got canned like I did, and you just don't want to go back, or you just I'm done with this. I'm gonna do my own thing. Uh, so, and speaking of
Yeah.
doing your own thing, let's talk about the times now and the extremely important point that you mentioned, which is it's not just about the food or the alcohol, it's about the experience. What are
Mhm.
you seeing in possibly the new normal of what may be that experience for restaurants and other hospitality firms out there?
It's funny. I've got friends all over the food and beverage industry. I've got a girlfriend that works for Smoothie King, and what they're seeing is going to be different from one of my girlfriends that are in these large national chains or hotels. But what's interesting to me is the trend and consumer data that's coming out about how people are getting to the point where they're starting to become so accustomed to this sheltering in place concept that they're getting hungrier and hungrier for that external experience.
Yeah.
And even though right now it's, a restaurant is now picking it up at the curb and taking it to your outdoor patio for dinner, and that's your restaurant instead of sitting in the bar and having that experience. But there is a significant amount of consumers that are waiting to go back. They know they miss their experience. I mean, we are not the culture that sits at home. We're not the culture that we were, 50, 70 years ago, where we ate every dinner as a family around the kitchen table. We're just not like that. We go, we explore, we experience the environments around us, the flavors, the smells.
Yeah.
And restaurants are a huge part of that. So I think people are going to run back based on the data I'm seeing.
Yeah, yeah, I certainly hope so. And I think that will definitely happen as long as the economy picks up and people actually have a few dollars to spend. Yeah, it's my thought that some restaurants, like your quick serves, whether it be your usual McDonald's, Burger King, obviously, that some of that will change in terms of masks and social distancing and so forth. But you're generally not going to the quick serve places for an experience, except the experience is I want to get my food quick and I want to move.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily going to change that much, I don't think. What really concerns me are the family dining, fine dining type of places where that's always been an experience. I mentioned to you before we started recording, one of the business partners for one of the businesses that I own, the Police Officers Credit Union Association. We do a lot of events at Landry's locations, Morton's, McCormick and Schmick's, and places like that. And I love those places, especially Morton's. I grew up in Chicago.
I do too.
I'm a steak guy, and they provide a great experience. But it's
Yeah.
interesting because I know that they do they're trying to do a steak at home program right now where they give you a steak and all the fixings so that you can make it at home. But I always keep thinking, well, I'm fortunate enough to have a wife that's an amazing cook. She'll just go to the Beef Palace in Huntington Beach, get some great meat, and make it, and it'll be just as good. But what I miss from Morton's is that overall experience. That
Yeah.
being at the nice table, getting great service, being in a place with the right music and the right lighting. I think that's where actually some restaurants really miss the boat. They think it's all about the food and not about the experience, and it is the latter. So yeah, I'm even trying to think of, what is that experience going to look like in these fine dining, family dining type places with social distancing
Yeah.
and less tables and all that. Do you have any insight into that, Christy?
Well, I know that there will probably be because that's a really good question, and I think that that is the question that everybody's
I
asking in
asked
several
it.
different
Every
forms.
once in a while I come up with
This is
one.
yeah.
Please continue.
Well, this is the unknown variable. What is it going to look like, and what shape is it going to take? And you mentioned the wonderful restaurants like the Mortons and the Masters, the McCormick and Schmick's, the Flemings, the places where we all go for that really upscale, beautiful, relaxing, elegant experience.
Yeah.
I think we'll return to that. And hopefully with the way that the government has come to the table with the stimulus program and the paycheck protection programs, hopefully with people being able to retain their salaries, we won't see that economic downturn. So I'm grateful that our government is boosting our economy that way. It doesn't change the fact that it doesn't help our bartenders, our servers, the people in the kitchen that are making an hourly wage. It does not really help them, unfortunately, because they weren't making that much to begin with,
Mhm.
especially if they're tip-based employees. Um, but I do think that people, even on the casual dining side, where it's more of a family environment, we're going to see longer wait times. We're going to see the restaurant industry get creative and pivot their model yet again once they can open their doors, because they're not going to want to turn down any bit of revenue, but they're
Yeah.
also not going to be able to crowd as many people into those restaurants.
Right.
Whether it's a mandate from the government or the FDA or the safety, whatever it is, or if it's just people's personal
Yeah.
issues with being that close to others after we've changed our entire life as we know it for the past several weeks. So I think that we're going to see a new approach, more creativity, which there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's always good. There's always ways to tweak.
Yeah.
Nothing's ever final, right?
Right. Right. Well, I even, I think of the fact, and more about the restaurant and hospitality industry specifically than I do, given your niche and focus. But I realize that especially for restaurants, it's all about turning tables. That you use the real estate that you have in your restaurant as best you can, to still create an experience, And it's about turning the tables, not only for
Yeah.
your covering your own costs, but also for better tip opportunities. If you could
Oh
serve
yeah.
if you could serve 5 tables, in an hour, that's going to be much better
Oh
than
yeah.
3 tables in an hour. But
Absolutely.
but yeah,
Yeah.
I also
Back in my
go ahead. I want to hear back in your
I
days,
was
2 or 3 years
gonna say,
ago.
we
Tell us about it.
we called them campers. They would come and they would sit and they'd finish their dinner and then they wouldn't leave. And I'm like, dude, I'm sorry. And it was the 90s. So I was lucky to be making $10
Yeah,
off a casual dining table because most people were tipping around 15 to 18% back then.
yeah,
I'm like, don't camp in my section.
yeah.
No, no. You move along. So now, like when I'm out with my friends or whatever, or colleagues, and we end up camping, we stay a little longer, we make sure to tip extra for that time. Like
Yeah.
you view it as you're now renting the table after you've given the gratuity to the server. You're now renting that table from that server.
Yeah.
So you're taking money out of their pocket. So if you're not going to be generous, move your ass.
Yeah, yeah. I thank you for saying that. I agree with you 100%. Ironically, yeah, I never worked as a waiter or a waitress for that matter. I'd be a pretty damn ugly waitress. Uh, even back in the day when I had hair. But that always bugged me just because I'm obviously a big small business advocate. And I understand that yeah, you pay the bill, you just kind of say your goodbyes for 5 maybe 10 minutes,
Yeah.
so be it. But don't I call it do the linger. And my wife also worked in the she worked in the restaurant industry through college, and so she kind of gets it. But we've got some friends when we go out to dinner, and then they want to do what I call the linger. And I say, okay, when we pay the bill, we're either going the hell home or we're going to the bar.
Yeah.
We're doing
Exactly.
something, but our fat asses aren't gonna sit at the table for a half an hour. I can't. I literally, after about 5 minutes, I get antsy.
Ready to go.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
get I
Yeah.
get
That's
yeah I
most
get.
people.
So I literally, right before, if we go out to dinner with friends, I always tell my wife, it's like, all right, we're not doing the linger. And then she's a lot nicer than I am, thank God. She'll say, well, I haven't seen so and so and so long. Then great. Then great. Then let's go to their house. You could talk as long as you want or whatever. But I don't want
Yeah.
to take up a
That's
table
why
for a
kitchens
half
are
an hour
there.
out of yeah, I don't want to take up a
Yeah.
table for a half an hour on a Saturday. That's not fair to everybody else working. They're working there. But that but that
I
leads
know. Well,
go
and
ahead, please.
honestly, it's really generous to move it to the bar and be respectful. Then you're ordering a drink at the bar, and the bartender a gratuity, so you're putting more money into that restaurant and bartender's pocket. So maybe a great way to come back is we're going to have reduced tables, which means longer wait times. Show up like an hour before you're going to want to eat, sit at the bar, grab yourself an appetizer, have a couple margaritas. When your table arrives, enjoy a nice meal. When it's over, go back to that bar and order dessert and a glass of wine.
Yeah.
Just making that.
And make sure you take an Uber or a Lyft. This way you can drink all you want and you're giving
Yes.
somebody else some income. Um, but
Yeah.
I often think in this time that we're in and how we're going to be in a new normal. And I completely agree with you that when it comes to hospitality, even when it comes to my banking and health and wellness and gym people, it still comes
Yeah.
down to the experience, because you can eat anywhere, you can do your banking anywhere, you can go to the gym anywhere, you've got a ton of choices. It still comes down to the experience. And if we think of the restaurant industry or a restaurant business as an experience provider and not a food provider, it begins to change our
Yeah.
perception of what our business is. So I'm even thinking in the new normal, does pricing possibly tie more into time and space and less into food? Like, for instance, okay, we're going to a play, if plays ever come back again. We only need a half hour. We want a steak and potatoes and no dessert. We only want a half an hour. We put in our order online, even for a place like Morton's beforehand. We need a half an hour for a table. We're going to leave at 8:20 because our play right across the street starts at 8:35. And you have a pricing structure for that. And then maybe, you know what? No, we're gonna see grandma and it's Mother's Day or whatever the heck it is. We need 2 hours to experience this. Yeah, okay, you've got a 2 hour slot and that costs X, and here are three different meals that you can have in those 2 hours. I'm wondering if it's going to be the pricing and the service is going to be
Yeah.
more experience based than, say, pricing on the food and the alcohol. What do you think?
Yeah. I love where your head just went. I think that's really cool. Because you're right. It depends on the experience that you need. The food, where you're going because you know what you're eating, right?
Right.
You're either in the mood for a genre of cuisine or you're in the mood for the restaurant that if you're not trying something brand new. But yeah, that's a really good point. You're right. You're taking grandma out for Mother's Day for brunch, and grandma likes her mimosas, and you're probably gonna sit there a while so grandma gets her money worth.
Yeah. Exactly.
Maybe you need 2 hours.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean,
I love that idea.
it would take a little bit more planning on the part of the consumer. But I think, we're already doing that now with quick serve. I mean, people don't want to stand in line like an ass at Starbucks to wait for,
Yeah.
their caramel macchiato with, a peanut butter slice and, five
Yeah.
dollops of whipped cream and all that other crap that some people get. They put it in and they order all their extras and they walk in, they look for their name, they grab it and they go, and they never even talk to a human being. Yeah, I think that maybe there's some things that can be
Yeah.
adopted there, even for, to stick with my Landry's example. I know they own Rainforest Cafe. I don't have I don't
Mhm.
have any kids, so I don't go to Rainforest Cafe. I don't need, large fake gorillas and alligators jumping out at me from the wall. It's not my thing. But,
My kids love that place.
yeah, but see, if you're gonna, it's kind of like a nice, it's kind of like a nice place where you don't have the insanity of Chuck E. Cheese with a lot of kids unsupervised running around and
Oh,
breaking stuff.
yeah.
But you take them to a
No, that's my
rainforest.
hell.
Yeah, you take them to Rainforest Cafe where you're still going to get good food and there's going to be some entertainment. You say, all right, we want to block out 1 hour for little Johnny
Mhm.
to be in this environment, and then at 59 minutes we're paying the bill. I think that could work.
I agree. I think it's going to be very interesting to see how our business as a whole starts to shift and reshape itself as we start to return.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting with the way that the states are doing it in different times or different markets. It's going to be a long process, I think, and it's rightfully so going to be a calculated process.
Yeah.
So I'm just crossing my fingers and trying to stay very optimistic and very positive because I know that there are a lot of people out there that really just can't sit in their houses any longer.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm usually, while I do have a tendency sometimes to go into a dark place, I'm going to say something very positive right now, which is I truly do in my heart and my mind believe in the entrepreneurial spirit. And I
Yeah.
do, and restaurant owners, you,
Yes.
80% of them are really, really sharp. Yeah, there's 20% that's,
Yes.
just don't get it, but 80% of them that I've met are really, really sharp, and they figure out a way to make
Oh, yes.
things work with the new rules. And those new rules may be that, your particular floor space may be cut in half in terms of who you can serve. So how do you make that work and still pay rent and make money and all that?
People in the restaurant industry as a whole, they're very creative. They're very think on their feet. They're very cat-like in that they land on their feet.
Yeah.
And it's a constantly, I mean, change is a constant in the industry, from the revolving door of the employment metrics
Yeah.
to rising and changing food costs. Things are always adjusting and trends are always changing.
Yep.
So they're a very versatile bunch as a whole, and they're really hardworking. Because I don't know about you, but like those managers aren't doing a 40-hour week. There's no way. They're working way more than 40 hours.
Oh yeah.
And they're not getting, and in some cases the managers will be making less than the tipped people, because tipped people come in for 30 hours a week and they're making more, you know? But it's just, I think it'll be interesting. I think we'll see a lot of creativity and a lot of good ideas. And I'm going to do my best to be there and help every bit as much as I can to bring this industry back in every way that I can, whether it's personally or professionally. There.
Yeah. Well, given that, do you have a top tip or maybe two top tips of where you see, how to brand and market yourself in this new normal to get out of this as we get out of it? What's going on in your head, Christie? What are one or two tips that you would suggest to the hospitality industry right now?
In terms of getting out of it or how to go through it?
Yeah, in terms of bringing the business back, because at the end of the day, it's I agree with you that I don't know if it's going to be 100%, but as we get out of it, there are going to be people jonesing for a good meal to go back into restaurants, or even to just sit in a bar again. And it's going to be competitive, because some people unfortunately just won't be able to do it for a while, because they're going to be paying back rent and paying credit cards and things of that nature. So from a competitive standpoint, how does a restaurant going into the new normal attract those fewer people to come to their restaurant over some competitor?
It's going to be different based on the general culture of the market that each restaurant is located in, and how badly the market has suffered, both on the economic standpoint and the health standpoint. Mm-hmm. But I would say it's as simple as creating a celebration, creating a reason to celebrate. The fact that you're coming back to a restaurant is a celebration. Celebrate with us. Let's do special desserts, special cakes, special drinks, special appetizers, whatever it is. No discounting. Uh-huh. I think too often in our industry, when things get bad, the immediate answer is, let's do a bundle deal. Let's do 2 dinners for $12.99. Let's discount. There's no way to come back from discounting. Yeah. Discounting is a short-term fix for a long-term issue, because you're never going to be able to bring your pricing back up to where you need it to be with rising costs. You're going to be pinched tighter and tighter. And as everyone's talking about, we all know our business runs on very thin margins already.
Yeah.
So don't pinch yourself further. Focus on what you can do to create the experience for your staff. Make them feel happy, make them feel awarded. Do a staff meal, bring them back together, and do a staff-only reopening party. Invite them to invite their families. Have an experience where we come together. This is where we start anew.
Yeah, I love those ideas. Especially, I know as well as you do that margins, especially on food, we're tight. We're tight even in the best economies.
I know.
And so it's very difficult to discount food. I agree with that. You can't always just give away stuff. Unless you're gonna triple your alcohol prices or something.
Well, and the thing is too, is the people that are driven by price promotions are typically not your loyal consumers either. Yeah. So they're just following price. They really don't care if they get okay service because they're only paying $12 anyway. So that's not it. That's not the demographic to grow or to regrow or to regenerate. So
Yeah.
that would be my biggest piece of advice. As tempting as it is, and I understand it's tempting, hold out. Hold out for your core demographic. They will come back to you. But make sure that when you do whatever you're going to do, when you relaunch and reopen, and the way that you publicize it, you make a splash. You don't disappear and you don't shy away. You take every opportunity to promote on every channel.
Yep. I completely agree with you. I keep telling all of my clients, whether they're in discretionary or non-discretionary type of businesses, we may need to isolate physically right now, but now is not the time to isolate visibly. Yeah, if in these times what you're doing is giving away free food to children that aren't in schools and seniors that are on a budget, then great. Then put that on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram and everything else.
Yes.
Let people know what you're doing these rough times, and let people know. I love your idea of celebration. Let people know, hey, this is what we're planning when we come back, because then that's a buildup. And you're so right on the discount pricing. I even see this in banking. You'll have a community bank or a credit union do this great deal where it's going to be 4% for a 3-month certificate of deposit, and people come in with the money, have the 3 months, and then they leave at like the 92nd day and take it someplace else.
Yeah.
What have you really gained from that? Nothing. That's not providing an experience in a retail consumer environment. So I love your tips. I think that you're spot on. Last question I have for you is, there are restaurants that are ramping up, there are hospitality businesses that are still going, in many different ways. How can our folks out there tap into your many years of expertise, all 2 of them, since you're only 20 years old, and
yes,
and
very young at this.
Yes. How can they tap into your brilliance? How can they find you out there?
The easiest way to reach us is our website, which is simply cjlconsults, plural. That's the best way. All the information is there, all the links to all of our various social media outlets, email addresses, phone numbers, all of it right there. Very simple and easy. And I wish them luck. Yeah. I'm rooting for everybody.
Yeah, I am too. Christie, thank you so much for spending some time with us today. And to everybody in the audience, especially in the discretionary hospitality space, we're both with you. We're praying for you, and we know that we're going to get on the other side of this, and creatively we'll find a way to keep this rolling the way that it needs to. But in the meantime, thank you so much for spending some time with us today. And as always, here's hoping that you're branding the experience at a very high level for all those you serve. Take care. Thank you for watching Branding the Experience. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you're looking for a speaker on branding the experience, on workplace culture, or on business strategy, I have a number of different options for you. And my approach is always to entertain first, engage second, and educate third. It's a formula that leaves my audience not only laughing and enjoying, but also learning. So if you want a great speaker on branding, culture building, or strategy, I'd like to hear from you. Simply send me an email at kbator, BATOR, at btcinc.net, or to learn more about the presentations that I've done that have been successful in the past, go to www.btcinc.net.